Hey everyone, welcome to Co-Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Boston. We have a really fun episode today. I met Judith Asséo, who is a certified veterinary practice manager, on a little trip to California. She's like a friend of a friend, and she is just so easy to get to know, so easy to talk to that I feel like I'm already friends with her. And found out in our conversation that she is also an improviser. She lives in San Francisco. She has been doing improv comedy for over 30 years, and she currently performs with a group called the Secret Improv Society, only it's not a secret because they perform it in San Francisco every Friday and Saturday night. She's got lots of really interesting insights into veterinarians and what makes us tick, because she's kind of, observing us. Sometimes I don't think we look so good. But anyway, she's here to help us communicate better through improv, through all of her training. And I thought this was a really insightful, interesting chat. So I hope you enjoy Judy. Welcome, Judith Asséo, to our podcast.
You can call me Judy. It's fine. My friends call me Judy, and I feel like we're friends now.
Okay.
We're friends.
We are friends now. I am so glad I found you. I found you in California, which is where you still are. Okay, I'm going to tell the story of how we met. So we met because we have a mutual friend who is a veterinarian. Her name's Nancy, and I was in Davis doing stand-up. I thought I was doing a keynote, but it turned into stand-up at the student AVMA. And then Nancy was like, we're going to go for she was like, I'm going to go for brunch with my friends. And I'm so glad I went. Sometimes when those things happen, you're kind of like, oh, I could do work. Like, you go. It's like, I don't know these people. And then it's just like the two best people. So glad I went.
We had a great time. Yeah. We had a wonderful time.
Yeah. I love Maria too. And yeah, it was a good lesson for me to, I think I put myself out there, but it was a good lesson, usually the transitive property of friendship works, not always, but I always think if A is friends with B and B is friends with C, A and C usually will be friends. Not always, but it usually works. So
I feel like it worked out in this case.
I feel like it did. Yeah. I feel like there's no corollaries that we need to go through. Is that a corollary? Yeah. When it doesn't work. Okay. So the reason why you're a wonderful guest for Co-Medicine is you are a certified practice manager.
Correct.
No, a certified veterinary practice manager.
Correct. So I just said correct and it wasn't correct. But yes, certified veterinary practice manager.
Practice manager, because Co-Medicine's for all the healthcare, right. But also a very experienced improviser with 30 years of experience.
Yeah, been improvising a long time, longer than I'd been in veterinary medicine. I love this. Podcast includes the stepchildren of medicine.
Oh, yeah. You're the second certified veterinary practice manager, if you can believe it. Yeah.
I believe it. There's like 100 of us out there, something like that, maybe 200. And
really?
You found
that's it?
There's not a lot. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe there's like 500. There's not a lot of us. And you found two of us.
I found two. Yes. What is that saying? I don't know.
You find unicorns. And Pegasus out there.
Yeah. Or there's a connection. So let's talk about your day job. Currently, you are the Senior Director of Operations at Western Veterinary Partners. That sounds like a big job.
It's been great. I work mostly with practices in Northern California and Nevada, a little bit in Washington as well. The primary region I'm part of, I got to name, and I called ourselves the Calneva Cats.
Nice.
Everyone else has very normal names, but we have a very kind of crazy name.
So, it actually sounds like an improv group.
It could be the Calneva Cats. And the funny part was that someone I work with in our business development department actually thought that was a breed of cat. And I was like, no, it is not a breed of feline. I made up the name California and Nevada. Calneva. Even that has comedy to it. But yes, I've been with this group for a little over 4 years. Been really happy. I feel like I did find a unicorn of a group to partner with and work with. So I've been happy with that. But been in the veterinary world about 25 years. Worked for a large nonprofit for about 11 years. Managed a big specialty practice. Was in a regional role with a different group for a couple of years. And then came over to the group I'm with now a little over 4 years ago. So what I do is I work with practices and help them, kind of like internal consultant for the practices I work with, which are small, relatively small veterinary hospitals, the smallest hospital, maybe up to about 10, all general practices. So I was in the specialty world for a long time, but now I'm in the general practice world, which is a lot more peaceful. We have, business partners, which typically are veterinarians. There's a couple of technician partner owners. A large portion of the folks that partner with us have equity in our company. So it really is truly a business partnership. And I work with our practices and help them achieve their goals, whether it's we need another veterinarian or how do we market ourselves with our new acupuncture service or what have you, and try and help them and work with them.
So you're just trying to basically improve their practice, help them do better.
I mean, in reality, about 75% of my job is as a counselor. I'm not certified as a counselor at all, but I feel like a big portion of my job is helping people talk to each other typically within the practice. So, I mean, that ends up being a big portion of my job of just helping people talk to each other. They have the answers. They know what they need to do. But especially I have found in California that people are afraid of conflict. So I'm from Boston. Really? I'm from Boston. So you piss me off, Sarah, I'm going to tell you.
And I'll appreciate that. I'll say thanks for letting me know, Judy.
Yeah. You'll be so polite about it because you're Canadian, right? So
I will. I'll say my favorite thing to say in those situations is thank you for the feedback.
It's a nice thing to say. Someone's telling you something. Anyway, I help people talk to each other because the Californians are really afraid of it. They don't need to be.
So Californians are afraid of, I didn't know that actually about Californians. So they are conflict avoiders.
Yes. I mean, they'll talk crap about you behind your back, but they won't tell you in your face. Yeah. They won't be like, you're pissing me off, Sarah. They'll be like,
I like it in my face, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to know if I'm pissing someone off in general. And because I can apologize, or I can be like, well, you're pissing me off.
It's amazing. Here in California, like, people won't tell you to your face. They'll just talk to you with everyone else behind your back, being like, oh, Sarah pissed me off 5 weeks ago, and I'm holding a grudge, or 5 years ago, and I'm still holding. Yeah, and I can't talk to her. But I'm going to still work with her every day and try and, help the animals.
And just seethe with rage because I hate her. Yeah, I don't know.
Which doesn't do good things for your soul,
Yeah. I think Canadians, I don't know, we're probably a little bit conflict avoiders, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if we have that as a national thing. We're not like the New York, Boston kind of.
Right. You're a people of action, though. I mean, I've been, watching the news. You're like, I'm not it's nice that you live in California. It's nice that you're a blue state or a bubble, but we're still not coming there. We are united against the collapse of your democracy and, these threats of making us part of you. Yeah. Impressive. Yeah. Thank you, Canadians.
Yeah. It's funny. Canadians have been pretty strong on that as a whole. And we don't find it funny. Like, that's the thing. Like, people kind of make a little jab and it's just like, we're like, that's not funny. Like, we're just like,
we don't find it funny either. We're terrified.
I guess so. But like, people are like, what do you think about being the 51st state? I'm like, I think that's not funny. That's what I think. Yeah. That's not even to be joked about, interestingly.
Yeah. Maybe you could start a petition that the Canadians could adopt California. Maybe that's really our...
people have talked about that taking the West Coast, but I think it's a little bit flawed because of the guns and the healthcare.
We'll give up our guns. We might just skip some states in between, but I feel like in California, we would probably give up our guns if we could have peace and harmony. Yes. At least Northern California. Sorry, Southern California.
Yeah, we might have to cut California in half.
Yeah. May have to be just the Bay Area. Can't go too far north. Okay. Maybe the Bay Area. And we'll keep wine country. Maybe
that'd be nice.
I'm probably offending people in the far piece of the state, but
that's okay. It's all artificial lines, apparently. Anyway,
they are. Yes,
it's all artificial. So, okay, your kind of business side, your daytime work side. Has it always been? You said 20. I didn't realize it was 25 years. It's always been in the veterinary industry. Had you worked in any other industry before?
Not really. I mean, after college, I traveled for a bit and I waitressed. But I was, in my early 20s, which was fun. And you can work illegally as a waitress around the world, let me just tell people. I feel like that was a good experience, being an undocumented worker. And thank you, Australia. Now I'm never going to be able to go back to Australia.
Never, We're huge. We're huge in Australia, co-medicine. Massive.
Okay, good. I ended up moving to San Francisco as a young person and ended up volunteering for an animal welfare organization and then ended up working for them for a couple of years, a small nonprofit that helped people with a diagnosis of AIDS or disabling HIV with their pets. So I started volunteering. I had just moved to San Francisco and was waitressing. And next door to the little restaurant I worked at was the offices for PAWS. Pets are wonderful support. And I thought, I like pets. In high school, I had a job at a pet store taking care of the rodents and the exotics, the lizards. It was really fun. I said, I could help with animals. I'd like to help some people. What do they need? And so I went to the office and they said, here are some keys. Take the Muni down to this apartment building. Go to apartment 325. The man's in the hospital. You'll find some cats there. Please clean the litter box and feed the cats. I played with them for a few minutes. I said, okay. So I did that, and it was the loneliest volunteer job ever. I mean, the cats were very nice. I went into the man's apartment who was not there, fed the cats, cleaned the litter box, played with them for a few minutes. I did that for a few weeks. He then got out of the hospital. I never met him. Went back to the office and said, hey, I have some administrative skills. Like if you need help in your office, like, I know I'm waitressing next door, but, I had to go to college. I can do some things if you need some help. And they're like, yes, we need help. And so I started volunteering in the office, and then I started working for them part-time, and then ended up working for them full-time as their client services manager, which was coordinating all the services and the volunteers that went and helped people with their pets. So we had dog walking teams. So people that would, you could be the Monday PM dog walker for someone that might have been too ill to take care of their pet. And we had people that, like what I had done, take care of someone's cat when they were in the hospital. Yeah. We'd help transport people and their pets to veterinary visits, grooming visits, that sort of thing. So the organization still exists. They now help people with a wider base of disability and I believe age as well. So pets are wonderful support. I think it's now under Shanty project in San Francisco, but there are chapters around the country. It was started by some veterinarians in San Francisco in a response to the AIDS crisis. So, the most difficult part of the job was I would get to know our clients sometimes as they were at the end of their life and, had conversations with people and helping them figure out where their pets would go after they passed away. So I also helped facilitate that as well.
It's really sad, but also what a gift to those people, right? Because that's probably, if that's their companion, the worry of leaving a pet behind is huge.
It was interesting working in an AIDS service organization at probably between the years 97 and 99, and like the antiviral therapies were starting to come on the market. Like people were starting to do better. So it was really an interesting time to be doing something and working with people with a diagnosis of AIDS or disabling HIV. It was, I think, an interesting time to be part of that. And so people are now, able to live a lot longer and have therapies that work.
I want to thank our Season 6 title sponsor, Covet. Covet is an AI co-pilot for veterinary professionals, and I'm excited to talk to you about it because this is the AI co-pilot that we're using at the hospital where I work. There's so many great uses for this. I get a lot of referrals sent in with a ton of PDFs, and sometimes just like 12 years of the dog's medical record sent to me. 12 years, you guys. I don't have time to read through all of that. Sometimes my records are sent to me in French. That's challenging for me. That's okay. Covet can deal with it. It takes everything, turns it into a nice summarized document so I can review everything before I go in the exam room. And then once I'm in the exam room, Covet can listen to the entire consultation. I can talk about my physical exam findings. I can talk to the client. We can make a plan together. All of this gets summarized better and faster, honestly, than what I can do myself. And there's a lot of cool features in the app. One of them is you can call a client from the app directly. It will listen to both sides of a conversation, and then it will summarize the whole thing. Again, better and faster than I can. This has literally saved me hours every day, getting my paperwork done, getting me out in time, and also just decreasing my general stress level because I'm not worried, did I get that all? Did I get the right leg? Did I get everything recorded? Am I going to forget something? And it's a lot nicer to focus on your patient and focus on your client rather than having to constantly be turning away from them and writing stuff down. So check out Covet. It is fabulous. I want to thank them for everything they do to support the veterinary profession and also for supporting this podcast. So, okay, but I wanted to ask, when I met you, I got the sense that you think that veterinarians are a bit special, and especially specialists are a little different to work with. Can you expand on that? Because I'm always like, are we weird? Is it us? Or is every organization, when you get this many people together, like this? That's the thing I don't know. Are teachers like this? Are lawyers like this? Is it just this many human beings that have strong feelings in a room? Or vets a little bit extra special?
Well, I think as a group of people, empathetic, big hearts, at the same time, I do think this industry attracts people that are really good in science and math. I think that as we go up sort of the credential ladder and specialty and the number of letters after your name, I think we probably have in our industry a larger portion of neurodivergent folks than maybe in other industries. And I think that there are things that we could probably be doing as industry to better support those individuals. At the same time, we are also an industry dominated by women. And we should also be thinking about the needs of women too. And so I just think in terms of dynamics at a practice, for example, we may have, and this has been my experience in, like I said, especially sort of, go up the ladder in terms of credentials, people that are brilliant scientific medical minds, but might struggle with communication, human interaction, like reading emotions, like things that, sometimes you will see with folks that are neurodivergent of like, I don't understand the reaction I'm getting from somebody, or not needing help in interpreting how to maybe a best approach to a client situation, or just needing someone to bounce an idea off of in terms of how do I communicate this. So I think that I've seen that in my 25 years. I don't know what your experience has been. I mean, I do feel like the oncologists tend to be the highly emotionally intelligent specialists.
Oh,
I think different specialties have different
personalities, right?
This.
I think that's true in the human side too, because Glaucon Flecken, he was a guest on the show, and he beautifully kind of makes fun of that. Like the surgeon is like this, and it's like, you can't generalize like that, but then you see his sketches and you're kind of like, yeah, actually, that is what surgeons are like, or that is what an internist is like. Because, your personality is going to probably push you towards certain specialties. And I would agree. I'm a surgical oncologist, so I probably am somewhere in the middle. But the true medical oncologists are very empathic people, sometimes to their detriment, I would say, because it's that, sometimes can be crushing if you're feeling so deeply for every single case, and they're all cancer cases. Like that can be challenging. And I definitely have challenges with that. Like, sometimes it just gets a little too sad. And I sometimes, like, I've said that before in rounds, like you just go through like sad case, sad case, sad case. It's not even the oncology case. It's just like sad emergency cases are sad, and it's just like, I sit there for half an hour every morning. I'm like, oh, that's sad. Oh, that's sad. That's sad for that family. That must be hard. Like I kind of think, what if that was my dog? How would I feel? I'd be pretty sad right now, So I think that's probably a challenge in our whole profession that we have, is just kind of we're just not seeing animals at their best day. Like I think especially in emergency and specialty, the primary care veterinarians, that's probably the best thing about their jobs, is that like they get to see the puppy and the puppy grow and the family and sort of that happiness and stuff. And like we don't really get that, as specialists, and people don't really come back to see us usually. Like they're just kind of come in, we do what we do, and then they're gone. Sometimes they'll send us pictures and videos, which is nice, but usually it's just like, bye.
From my world in veterinary specialty medicine, like every single person walking through your door is in crisis. Working with the support staff, the client service team, the folks, the technicians, the people that are working directly and triaging and working with those folks when they come in, whether it's on overnight on the emergency and their dog was hit by a car, or they've been referred because their cat has cancer, they're in crisis. And a lot of my work has been on working with our teams, especially when I was in, specialty in emergency medicine, training folks on how to de-escalate situations, how to, better meet the emotional needs of our clients to make the work that we do, I guess, easier or at least less stressful for the staff. So really helping provide tools for not only doctors, but veterinarians, technicians, vet assistants, client service staff to better meet the emotional needs of clients and be able to communicate with them more effectively.
So, okay, what do you think are the challenges? I know you're not an expert in this, but it sounds like you are running into this, like you're like, we can't really diagnose our coworkers, but the sense of our high science achievers, which are any veterinarian really, like, because it's tough to get into vet school, it's tough to get through vet school. So whether you're a specialist or a primary care veterinarian, I don't actually think specialists are smarter than a primary care veterinarian. I think it's just different choices. There's some like brilliant and probably, brilliant primary care veterinarians who are better veterinarians than I am. They just chose, I want to run a business. I want to, whatever. I don't want to do residency. Residency is unattractive for lots of reasons. So, but like when you're running into people that again, we're not diagnosing them, but you have a sense this person may be neurodivergent, like what are tools that we can use when we're working with those individuals to kind of help us work better together?
I mean, I think you spoke a little bit about this before, of when someone gives you feedback to say thank you, but teaching skills to give each other feedback in a practice, I think, is really important, especially if someone is not always aware of the impact of their actions or speech, that the intention is different from the impact. And I think teaching some of those skills can be very impactful for a veterinary team, because you may have people, whether it's how their brain works, how they grew up, or where they're from in the country, or where they are from around the world, they're going to have different styles of communication and maybe interpreting situations. And so if you can provide guidelines and help people normalize conflict. Not like that we're all like, throwing punches at each other, but normalize that conflict exists. And how are we going to approach that as a group of people, I think can be very, very productive and really help people that might not be reading situations.
Okay. So this is something I've observed, and maybe it's happening less, but I've observed this through my career. There's someone who's like, maybe doesn't communicate well, maybe doesn't get along with people, maybe doesn't make eye contact, maybe is a bit overbearing, whatever they are. And then like when you've worked with that person for a while, maybe people figure out workarounds. But something I hear a lot is like, that's just how that person is. Like, what do you think of that? Like, who should take the responsibility? Like, should the person who interacts differently, or is it their responsibility? Is it the coworker's responsibility to be like, I know they're like that. Oh yeah, that person's kind of a dick to work with, but I know they're like that. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm just going to know that it's not about me. It's about them. Like, I struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, we can't make everyone be the same. It's not realistic. Who should take responsibility for that, I guess, in your opinion, as a manager?
Well, I mean, I guess like the backdrop to this, right, is when you get to know someone, you build trust, you build respect, you accept people's quirks, right? So, if I was kind of a loudmouth, which I can be, and you know me, but you're like, Judy's a loudmouth. Sometimes she just says things, right? If we have a friendship, we have a relationship, that it's coming from a good place, you might accept that and not be offended by it. But where teams get in trouble is when the new person comes on, or there's a change in the dynamic where that trust is broken or the relationship is new. And that's where you might get to a place over time where those quirks of individuals are accepted or tolerated, and it doesn't really disrupt the team. But when there's a disruption in the dynamic of the team, whether a new person, maybe, something that changes it where that trust and that acceptance is not there, that's when you can really see a team fall apart. So in terms of whose responsibility is it, I think it's all of our responsibilities. I think the hard part is many times the person that is maybe not as aware of their actions or speech would probably be the last person to be aware enough to say, hey, Sarah, would you be willing to give me feedback about the meeting we just had yesterday? How did I do? But this can be a coached thing. So if there is somebody on your team, let's say you're supervising a group of doctors, let's say I'm your doctor, Sarah, I can be abrasive, right? Like I could be abrasive and I say things and maybe I say it and my intention is good, but I'm sometimes too direct and I offend people. Let's say you observe an interaction with me where I did that. I think it's super important to, one, ask permission. Hey, Judy, can we talk? Hopefully there's a relationship there that you can build off of and say, maybe you've coached or you've talked before. Would it be okay? Could I give you some feedback? Prepare my brain. I might hear something that would be hard. And if I say yes, oh yeah, what's going on? To be specific about it. If I am unaware of my behavior, if you're like, you're rude, you have a loud mouth, I'm like, what are you talking about? This is me, right? Yeah. I have no frame of reference to attach your perception of my behavior to any of my actions. So I think the most important thing is to say, ask permission and say, yesterday when we were in that meeting with Bob and you said, I heard you say that his idea was the worst idea you've ever heard and would collapse the hospital and we'd lose our license. What I thought it meant was that you didn't like his idea. However, I think the way you communicated that was maybe what I heard might have been a little exaggerated. And I don't know if you noticed that he stopped talking after you said that. You continued talking, but I don't know if you noticed he stopped talking. And I think that was not perhaps the best way of going about expressing that you didn't agree with his opinion. What do you think? Because if you can attach it to a specific behavior that I can register and say, it wasn't the worst idea. I just thought it posed some risk. What would have been a better way for me to say that, Sarah? Then you can start to have a dialogue about it. In terms of to get someone to the point where they're asking you for feedback, maybe from that conversation, that could be something I've noticed a pattern of this, Judy. What I think might be helpful is when you're in a meeting with someone, letting them know that you're working on your communication and that after, maybe you could spend a couple minutes asking for feedback. And the simplest way for someone to do it is say, what's something I did well in that conversation? And what's something you wish I would have done differently? And if someone can just ask that question, and whatever the person says, they say, okay, thank you for your feedback. Even if they disagree with everything that they said, just opening yourself up to other people's perception of you if you're struggling at work, if you're struggling with relationships, can be really powerful. And so if there's medical providers and other folks listening to this podcast and you're like, I feel disconnected from my team, I feel like people don't like me, I feel like I don't know what to do. A great place to start is finding that person, or maybe it's one person at work that you've developed some trust with, that you think they like you, they accept you even though you're quirky. You say to that person, because likely that person is highly emotionally intelligent. And you go to that person and you say, hey person, hey friend, or hey colleague, I think I'm struggling with my relationships and communication with the team. Would you be willing to give me feedback? That's maybe the starting point. But then you need to approach, that person might be kind of smoothing things out for everybody because you're rocking the boat. So then you need to approach that person and give them opportunities to talk to you that is specific. You need to be quiet. So, for example, it's after a meeting, after an interaction, you go to that person, maybe that person was part of it. Hey, how did I do? Was there something I did well? Is there something you would like to see me do differently? As you know, I'm trying to work on my communication. Once you practice with that person, you could open that up to other people in the practice. And it will take some maybe self-reveal, right? Like, I'm working on my communication. Would you be willing to help me? And then you need to ask about specific scenarios. You need to give them the opportunity to give you specific information, because otherwise they'll be like, it's fine, you're quirky, whatever. You need to say, how did I do in that interaction? How did I do with that email? If that's the thing, whatever it is, and ask for the feedback. And you have to listen and then process it. Get a therapist, think about it. That's what I have to say. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy working with other humans. That's why veterinarians choose to work with animals. We are the most complicated species.
So I think the challenge is the person who probably needs the most coaching is the least likely to ask for it or even realize that they need it, right? Because it's easy to just be like, well, these people are idiots and like, I'm just, whatever. Like, it's not me, it's them, and it's all the struggle. And I think, so I think, and then whose job is that? Is it management probably that
it's
needs to say, hey,
job.
You need to stop interacting like that, and you need to find a way to learn, how to work better in this team, because unfortunately, except for that one veterinarian at that one veterinary practice, but that's still someone who has to work with the team, right? I'm sure there's a receptionist and a technician and a veterinary assistant. So that's 4 or 5 people at least that one person is working with. And I think it gets even more complicated when there's a hierarchy, right? With how we interact.
If you can establish, though, dynamics at a practice where feedback can be given from any individual to each other and establish that as ground rules, so it could be a starting point. But that one person, like somebody, whether it's their peer or their supervisor, again, if they can give them specific feedback, not just, you're kind of mean.
Yeah.
But versus really focusing in on a recent interaction, something that is observable, something that person can reflect upon their own words or action, it's going to be a lot more impactful, because obviously they're somewhat probably not that self-aware if they're kind of running through their work environment in a way that is really, damaging relationships. No one wants to damage relationships with people they work with. I mean, people in general want to have a nice day, right? Like just a nice day. So they're probably unaware. And
hopefully,
hopefully, right? Like, and I get it. People have other things going on outside of work. They have things that, impact them.
Yeah.
We are human beings. We don't live in, just this bubble of vet hospital, wherever. We have lives outside of work. But a starting point, I think, with that person is somebody being brave enough to say, hey, can I give you some feedback? I've noticed a pattern of you struggling with this, and I saw this yesterday, and I wanted to talk to you about it. And approaching that person, not with you demanding change, because you can't demand change of anyone. People have to choose to change. And so, but making that, at least giving that person some information to help them if they decide they do want to do that.
The comedian in me, I'm imagining a scenario where I try this out at work.
I think you should.
Up in my face. I'll call him like, it totally blew up. The thing didn't work. I think that's great. Something else you said is like normalizing conflict. But I also think a lot of veterinarians think if you don't agree with someone that's a conflict. I'm like, I think that's normal. Like, why would you always agree with everyone you work with? It's absurd to think. Like, you've got to figure out how to deal with a disagreement and move forward, but you're not going to agree. Like, that's nice if you agree with everyone you work with. That's never going to happen, right?
I mean, you're Jewish. I'm Jewish. we grew up in households where, debating was probably a sport that happened over a holiday dinner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just culturally, like, I think that, there is, at least my experience of like people with different ideas, some heated discussion. They're still family.
Yeah.
And there might be, and we're from Boston. We're not polite Canadian Jews. We're rude Boston Jews. Like, voices
Some
can
volume.
get raised. There could be volume. There could be, hand gestures. There could be, it's not as polite as the Canadian Jews. But this being said, like, I do think that culturally, like, at least talking through conflict or talking about different ideas as a way of being, I think, at least in my experience, was something that I think was true for me.
Yeah. My mom's Jewish. I wasn't really raised Jewish, and they're British. My parents are British. So I think that probably dampened things down a little.
No talking about anything.
It was more, we talked about my marks, and we talked about my career. And my dad would say, if I said I was going to do something I was going to try, I just was telling someone this, that he would be like, don't try, succeed. That was it. The end. Okay. That's fine. That's good. It's great. Okay. So I love this. So in a kind of parallel way, you are kind of working on your career with animals and management, but then the other track, I guess, like almost at the same time, you have started to do improv or comedy, or like, tell me about that journey.
Yeah. So, I've been doing theater since I was a little kid. And the first play I was in was called To Please a Prince. And I remember Diane Purdy's Children's Theater with my sister, who had a much bigger role than me. I just had like one line, I think, 2 lines. And so I always did theater as a kid, and then in college started doing sketch and improv comedy, and then that has continued. And currently perform with a group called the Secret Improv Society in San Francisco. We've been together, I think, 15 years, I think. And we perform at the Shelton Theater in Union Square on Friday and Saturday nights at 8 o'clock. And, we just make things up on stage. It's really like, I feel like why I chose this is I really enjoyed recess as a kid. You know what I mean? Like recess was my favorite time of day in school where you play. What's happening on stage with improv is you are playing, you are making it up. It's make-believe time. And so I think that's what is important to me. And I feel like, we learn through play. This as someone who studies animals, right? They learn through playing with each other. And like, I think that connects to something deeper, at least in me, but I think there's something deep inside of us that we respond to play, even as adults.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of opportunities for play as adults. And I encourage all of you to find opportunities to play, even if that's just being silly and saying hello to strangers in the world. Like, find opportunities to play. And I think it helps your brain. It helps you be happier.
Yeah. I'm very pro improv for a lot of different things. Like I know there's just improv for improv's sakes, and then there's improv to help you be a better actor, a better stand-up, but then there's improv in business too. Like, that is a big thing. And I'm very curious, like, do you use your improv either like formally or informally in your role, like as someone who's like helping businesses?
Definitely. Formally, like, I have, made awkward veterinarians and support staff talk to each other that don't know each other at big meetings, play some improv games to get to know each other, maybe a big room of people, typically are introverts, and how do I make it safe for them to get to know a stranger? So really, done different programming. So we've had meetings, things like that. We had a big meeting for our company. They're like, who should we ask to MC the main stage? Oh, we'll ask Judy. So I, was
that tracks.
And just had to improvise along as we're going through this programming with wonderful speakers and just having fun with it. So I've done that. I also am part of a group that we do medical director and hospital manager development series. We have different speakers, and typically I'm hosting our virtual meetings and again figuring out ways for our veterinarians and our hospital managers and support teams to interact with each other online and welcome our speakers. So some very informal little icebreakers, that type of thing, even online. So just really kind of thinking about how to help people connect with each other. And then kind of in a more formal sense, I have been speaking now at conferences and just programming that I've developed that it's not trademarked, so I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but fear-free training for humans, really.
Oh, I love it.
Talking about how do we teaching de-escalation skills, but some of those skills, I would say there's a big portion of those skills that tie into improv, because a lot of improv is communication. It's listening.
Okay.
And your number one skill on to de-escalate any situation, let's say with an angry client, is to listen to them. So I do feel like having training now for 30 years of listening, doing my best to listen. I'm not a good listener. This has been actually really good training for me. As I said, I grew up in a family where I had to my husband currently, every time he's like, who are you talking to? Was it your sister? Was it your mother? Like he knows.
He knows.
I'm the quiet one in my family. So
amazing.
Yeah. So, one of my sisters was an on-air DJ for a long time. The other is a professional musician. So we are just, I have
out
to,
there.
I'm the quiet one. So, but I do feel like improv in terms of work has really helped me hone in my listening skills, which, again, in presentation mode, but also just in daily interaction mode with people. And also, I think just the idea, the concept of yes and, right? I think that also has somehow prepared my brain for someone can say something pretty crazy. And I'm going to be like, okay, it's not necessarily yes and we should do whatever, but at least a yes of like, okay, I hear you. I do think that improv speaks to me, I think in some way, a very safe risk-taking, better than heroin. You know what I mean? Like safer, like you can take a risk on stage. And I think risk-taking, just practicing risk-taking for me has been a great way a great skill to have in life and work. Of just, what if I say that? What's going to happen? What if I do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's helped me just be a little bit more friendly to risk.
Yeah. So if you have a room of introverted veterinarians, who many of them might be neurodivergent.
Yes. Yeah.
And have quite a low EQ, and you're trying to make them work as a team or have a weekend together where they're getting to know each other and interacting, and you're running it. Like, can you just give examples of things you do to try to break the ice or get them talking, or because a lot of veterinarians don't want to just be silly, and they definitely don't want to be the first one to be silly. No. How are you doing that to facilitate that?
Well, the funny part is I have found that when I present these opportunities, like the veterinarians are really into it for the most part. So for example, in a large room, like let's say I have a group of 400 people and I want them to be at least figure out how to maybe approach a stranger or talk to them. I'll start with low stakes, right? You start with maybe a game where they're talking to the person next to them, right? Start low stakes. So you can build. So low stakes, talk to the person next to them. Typically, they're probably might know the person next to them, or at least they hopefully have said hello at that point. If they haven't said hello, we work on that. We work on the skill of hello. Seriously. I will, if I'm running a big group in a game, I will demo what it looks like to say hello to somebody. Okay. So we start there, low stakes, maybe, 2 people, dyad, and then from there, maybe our next game is for the table. There's 10 people. We do a game at the table. Then from there, maybe now we've done a couple things at the table. We're getting, and maybe we've gained some safety there. Then it's the big ask. I want you to go and find someone in the room you don't know, and this is what you're going to do. Again, demoing what hello looks like and introducing yourself, showing the steps of it, and just being very piece by piece on it. So building stamina, if they have a positive experience with that person next to them, perhaps they can have a positive experience at the table, and then taking that and acknowledging some of you might be really scared right now. That's okay. Breathe. And this is what we're going to do. Let me show you what a hello looks like step by step with someone you don't know, and using comedy to make it fun, hopefully.
No, I love that. I think a lot of people at conferences too, especially if they've gone by themselves. That's tough when you go to a conference and you don't know anyone, and then people are going for dinner and you don't it's awkward as hell. It's just I think most people actually in their heart would love to have a buddy. I don't know. You want to go back to your hotel by yourself and just be by yourself in the city. You kind of want to at least have someone to go for dinner or someone to talk to. So but it's just how do you find a way to connect people? And I don't know. It's funny because I think you're maybe introverted, but you kind of want to know at least one or two people.
I mean, if you are in that place, maybe you're in a conference where there is no structured get to know me exercises, right? My experience with the veterinary community is they want to connect with each other. So if you are brave enough to say, hello, I want to introduce myself. My name's Judy. I work here. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be accepted very warmly by somebody because that person wants to have connection. They just don't know how to do it and they're scared. So you could be the brave one to do it, but my sense is from working with the veterinary professionals I work with is they are wanting this. They want to have fun with each other. They want to be a little silly. I do these virtual seminars and, do a little warm up. They're typically very silly. And I can remember one game, and maybe we should play right now.
Yeah, I would love to play a game.
Okay.
Yeah,
which was, in zombie apocalypse type movies or shows like The Walking Dead. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but typically the medical provider that can, is the best equipped to, function in a zombie apocalypse is a veterinarian, right? They deal with different species. They deal with bites all the time. Like they know how to protect themselves from bites, all of these things. So they're typically the medical provider in these zombie apocalypse shows. So if a veterinarian is the most equipped to be the medical provider in a zombie apocalypse, what medical provider is the least equipped? That's my question for you. Like, is it the radiologist? Who's going to be useless? Which medical profession in the medical world?
Okay, so it could be anything.
Anything.
Like, who are we going to offend? Okay,
I don't know.
See.
I mean, the way I played this with my group was what profession would be the least helpful.
Okay.
I got a lot of accountants. I mean, it's easy. Lawyers. But I thought for this podcast, we should play it a little differently, unless you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Oh, I don't know. It's okay. It's all jokes. Okay, so there's a zombie apocalypse. We all agree the veterinarians are
most equipped.
I'm going to say actually expect especially a mixed animal veterinarian or a zoo vet. They're like the tops, of all the veterinarians.
They have to know every species, right? I mean, these people are the veterinarians are going to be treating humans as well as dealing with bites, right? And probably taking care of livestock. And anyway, yes, you don't know.
And also they can work in difficult conditions, like a mixed vet or a zoo vet. They are they're MacGyvering stuff. Zoo vets are like, oh, I haven't worked with this species, but I'm going to just apply this and I'm just going to do this thing. So I think, so I'm going to put them like quite high on my list.
Yes.
But of other medical professionals, let's see, we're going to offend some. I think nurses are pretty well equipped. I think when we get into the specialty physicians, I think that's where things are going to break down. Like the physician who is like an interventional radiologist, I have a very good friend, but I don't think they're helpful in a zombie apocalypse. So I think I'm going to pick them. So yeah, the radiologist, less helpful. A radiation oncologist could be useful because I'm feeling like it's an apocalypse and anything could happen. So someone with some radiation physics knowledge could be useful. Physiotherapists, I'm not sure how useful in a zombie apocalypse situation. I think they're very useful otherwise. I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, physiotherapist, interventional radiologist. That's my answer.
Okay, that's good. I mean, at least we're in agreement that veterinarians at the top of the list.
They're at the top. Yeah. As surgical oncologist, I can get a leg off pretty fast. I think that's helpful in this situation that we're in this zombie apocalypse.
You might have to do an amputation, right? Like I'm bit on my arm. We got to get it off now. And you would have those skills.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Yeah.
I have those skills. Yeah. I'm good at that. I also feel like I'm not going to do well in a zombie apocalypse because I don't have a thyroid anymore. And I am and for a while I got LASIK, but for a while there I was like almost blind without my contacts, and I had no thyroid. And I was like, if there's a zombie apocalypse, just kill me, because if there's a mushroom cloud, I'm running to it. That's all I'm saying, not away.
I'm pretty blind. I have reading glasses on, but they're over my contacts. My eye doctor is like, you need to get the LASIKs, but I'm scared of it. So I'm done for, because I'll be like, Sally, and it's a zombie. It's not my friend Sally.
It's not Sally. You don't see the signs. That is now a zombie who's going to
eat just a
your
zombie.
brain, right? That's what the zombies eat your brain. Yeah. Okay. No, I think that's a good game. It gets people thinking.
I mean, it's just a virtual game one can play, but those are the types of things just to get the crowd warmed up.
I know. If anyone's listening right now, if they want to put in our comments, they can comment on their opinion of the medical professional that is least equipped to deal with a zombie apocalypse. I think that's a good question for listeners. They want to interact with us.
I was thinking pathologist, like a pathologist, but then what if we got to a place where we're like, what is happening? And we maybe get to a place where we're going to get out of the zombie apocalypse. I feel like the pathologist could be really useful.
We need to keep them around. And the epidemiologists. I love that during the pandemic, suddenly the epidemiologists were sexy, right? No one really gave a shit about veterinary epidemiologists. And then the pandemic happened and they're on the radio, they're writing blogs. Everyone was like, what do they think? I'm like, okay, you guys, epidemiology is important. It was their moment. It was their moment to shine. Very sexy. Their moment to shine. And I think we do need the epidemiologists for the zombie apocalypse too.
Yeah, agree.
Just to kind of get a what is happening. Yeah. How do we get out of that?
Totally.
So you're doing comedy. Is it every Friday, Saturday? That's wild
the group does, but I don't.
Okay.
So there's about 10 of us, but any one show we have 4 to 5 people performing together.
I like that. No, I like that because with groups like that, it's a lot of pressure. Like, I think that's one thing that pushes me towards stand-up away from improv is this like group that you're going to let down. And I think I would, and it actually happened to me. I did a class with a group in Kitchener-Waterloo, and I loved them. And we had like this great time getting to know each other, learning to improvise together. And then it was like the date of the last show I was working. And so I missed our show, and I was like, oh, this is why I don't do improv. Because
well, our group is pretty flexible. So we have a rotating cast. I mean, there has been time. We have a few new folks in the group. So I don't perform as much as I used to. So there was a show not too long ago where I met a couple castmates and we're about to do a show in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which, is fun. It can be really fun. Like at the same time, maybe the audience is discovering who we are. I'm also discovering who my castmate is and what their things are. It's fun. So that adds a layer of excitement and risk to a show when you're performing with someone you've never performed with before. So.
Actually, I have a question about that. I never thought about this before because I always think CD is like, and maybe with a little bit of jealousy isn't the right word, but like, oh, that seems really cool. Like when there's this like an improv group or a sketch group that have worked together forever and they just know what each other's going to do. I've always thought that's such a cool thing. Like that's such a cool thing to have an improv group that knows like, I know I can throw you something. I know what you're going to do. I know what you're good at. But does it ever get boring? It's like, oh, Sarah's doing that character again. Like she's done that 100 times. Like, does it ever start to get stale? And like, is it better to have that kind of new blood coming through an improv group?
I mean, I think both can be really good. I mean, not necessarily the joy of improv is you don't know. And so like some of the cast that I've worked with for a long time, like I can think of individuals that they're so wacky and crazy. I don't know what they're going to do, but I know, like, I might know, like, oh, someone might be a really great physical comedian. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, and enjoy that. But I don't necessarily know what they're going to do, but maybe I know what's in their repertoire of like what. And so that's just fun kind of seeing your friends perform. And then there's the other piece and playing with your friends. And then a new friend, a new person in the cast, like just not knowing what their style is or just the joy of having another brain to improvise with, right? Like how their brain works, how their brain might interpret a situation and what they might offer up to build the story, right? So we're making a story up in front of you. We don't know what we're going to say or do. And that's the most fun. That is when an improv scene is at its best, when the improvisers are caught off guard, where they're having to and something that they're like, where is this going? This is going to be fun. So that can be the joy of it as well.
This time went fast, I have to say. It was really, really enjoyable talking to you. I always end with the last 2 questions. So, I mean, you have your career, you're quite high up in your current organization, senior director of operations. I mean, that's a big job. And you do improv, which I know like people joke like you don't make a lot of money doing improv, but let's just say your creative career just like took off. Like suddenly improv performer, actor, creative, whatever that means to you is like, you get an opportunity, you're going to do this, you're going to make the same amount of money. It's not going to affect your income at all. Would you choose a creative life or to be a creative over what you're doing in the veterinary medicine space? Or would you continue to do both?
I think at some level, I would continue to do both, but maybe what I would do is, if my improv career was skyrocketing, I would not abandon my veterinary community. Maybe I would, not necessarily work in the same role, but maybe take my fame as an improviser and bring them back to the veterinary community in speaking, in doing some of the stuff that you do, which I think is so cool, of helping people in our community connect with each other. So might not be in a practice every day or working in the same sort of operational role, but I could see taking those creative skills and building on that and that experience as an improviser, trying to make that more within the veterinary world. Because I do feel like improv for veterinary world and maybe other medical professionals can be there's some good things in improv that I think can help us as medical providers, as veterinarians, as people that need to work with other people and take care of ourselves as human beings. Like, I think it can be a good mix.
Yeah, I always say that on this podcast. I'm like, go take an improv class. Like, it doesn't mean you have to do improv. It's like, it just does something. I really believe it does something to your brain that's very good. And like,
you don't have a lot of opportunities as adults to just purely think about just what's in front of you, what the scene that's happening, the story that you're telling with another person or another group of people. And so you have to shut everything out to be in that moment, to be in a different place, to be those characters or that telling that whatever it is, that story that's being created. And I think that there's something about that I think is really freeing and can just change some things in your brain. It's a good thing in my opinion.
And it's so low stakes. Like a lot of people think it's high stakes because they're in front of people, they're on stage. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like if it didn't work.
Take a class that's not for performance, just for fun. Basically, you will be hanging out with a group of people, playing silly games and making up stories together. Story time. Remember kindergarten? Back to kindergarten. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we did, right? We allowed ourselves to be free as kids. We allow ourselves to play and we lose that as adults. How can we bring more play back into our life?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, we're at the last question. It's very serious. It's very important. So I'm trying to get Ken Jeong to be a guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
So far, not going well. But I've seen you. You're a very convincing person. I have seen you in action.
Okay.
I have observed you. So now you're not talking to me or anyone else. You're just speaking directly to Ken Jeong. Could you please ask Ken Jeong to come onto Co-Medicine?
Ken Jeong. My friend, Sarah Boston, she started a petition to keep Donald Trump out of Canada. It's hilarious. It's gotten hundreds of thousands of people that have signed this. And I know you were on The Masked Singer and you walked off the show in protest when Rudy Giuliani revealed himself. I agree with that. So obviously you and Sarah Boston are very much politically aligned. There's issues right now between the United States and Canada. Specifically, Gavin Newsom, he's trying to get the Canadians to come back to California. This could be a way that you could bridge a gap between two countries, but also really find an ally and someone that shares your political beliefs. And you should go on Sarah's show.
I like how you tied that all together.
Thank you. I did some research beforehand. I also had thought of another plan.
You can do it also if you want.
You want to hear the other plan? Because the other plan, but it's more involved. It's not talking to him. It's directions for you.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
And it's a little dark. It's a little dark, but I feel like,
dark is good.
He does. I don't know if he has any pets. Do you know if he has any pets?
I think he does, but I don't know that for sure.
All right. Well, I was thinking we could find a rescue animal that needs a home. And perhaps this pet has a cancer diagnosis, but treatable. Maybe it needs surgery, right? So we gift him this little dog that maybe it needs an amputation, but it's treatable. And then you show up and you're like, this is what I do. This is who I am. I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And then you build a relationship that way. The other option was, I believe his wife is maybe a pediatrician, I believe, in LA.
I think that's true.
I don't know if you have any children, but we can.
I don't have any.
You'll have to adopt.
Children, no.
You're going to have to adopt a child, and then you're going to make an appointment at her practice, and then you'll start a relationship with her, and you're going to have a child.
But
for the rest, that's how it's going to work.
Well, I have a friend. He's a producer on he's an investigative journalist, and he's like dead serious. He's like, you need to go there. You need to find out where he lives. You need to go. And I was like, I'm not going to stalk Ken Jeong. I mean, I'm already kind of pseudo-stalking Ken Jeong. Like, it's like a little bit of a joke now. It's my shtick. I don't think I'm going to go to California and stalk Ken Jeong because I think that could result in a restraining order or him being kind of irritated. He may be irritated now. He may not. I don't know. But anyway, this is my friend's investigative journalist brain. He's like, you just have to go.
I think it's good. I had also thought maybe you should just send an email to his publicist and pretend that he declined, that he wants to be on your show and be like, dear publicist, I've looked at my schedule. I'm so sorry. I can't fit you in this year, but I do have a spot on these dates. And just get, you know how when you give an angry client a choice between three things, maybe you give, pretend that he's already agreed to come on the show and that you're just following up.
Oh, we're just scheduling now. Yeah. Oh, I like that
you just start it mid-scene. You're starting an improv scene mid-scene. He's already agreed to come and you're just following up.
Yes. Okay.
You're just doing your due diligence to get him on the show.
Yeah. To coordinate everything.
Yeah, you could do this today.
Yeah.
You could do this today. You'd send the email, dear publicist. I'm replying to the request for him to be on the show. Here's the dates I can fit you in. Thank you for your flexibility. If these dates don't work, please propose another date. And then they
go. I should have got you involved 5 seasons ago, Judy, because I think it would have happened by now. I have regrets. That's all I'm saying. And that wraps up another episode of Co-Medicine. Thank you so much for listening. It is great having you here. If you have been listening to Co-Medicine from the beginning, thank you. If you're new to Co-Medicine, thank you and welcome to our Co-Medicine community. It is wonderful to have you here. I want to just give a shout out to Mark Edwards, who wrote the music for Co-Medicine. He's a comedian, an actor, a musician. He's going to be famous, you guys. And then you'll be like, is that the same Mark Edwards? And I'll be like, yeah, he's my friend, you guys. I know him. And he wrote the song. He's amazing. Also, big shout out to Dustin Bays. Thank you for editing the show and producing it. I appreciate you because I don't know how to do that stuff and I don't want to learn. Yes, it's willful ignorance, I think, at this point, but I'm so glad Dustin is here with me, helping me out with the show. And thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it, share it, do all the things, review it. If you're a sponsor or a potential sponsor, call me. That would be great. If you don't like the show, I don't know why you're still here.